Hi everyone, I'm JJ, myself and Matt, Scoundrel 13 online, decided to have a go at doing our first video battle report. So bear with us, I'm not sure how good it's going to be, but we'll give it a go anyway.
Hello and welcome to a battle report between myself, Matt Purdy, known as Scoundrel 13 on the Hawk forums, and JJ, known as JJ Aka Albino Boy. We are videoing our first battle report that we've videoed, and the scenario is going to be Station Assault. So we've got a station set up there. I am taking my favourite Scourge over there. We'll take you through that list in a second. And JJ is a staunch UCM player. He is just going to take you through his list here and explain why he's taking each group. So we've got a group of 3 New Orleans here.
Yeah, they're a low activation strike carrier group to try and get last activation turn 1 and first activation turn 2.
Green group is 4 Corvettes and a Seattle, right?
Yeah, so it's a Seattle, probably my favourite ship. Good combination of launch and shooting with low activation, accompanied by 4 Santiagos for killing off enemy strike carriers.
Cool. Red group, that is 4 New Orleans and another Seattle.
Yeah, so this is another group of 4 New Orleans for ground launch. There isn't any troop ships, so I've gone pretty heavy on New Orleans with another Seattle.
Very nice, yeah. I do like Seattle. I think they're one of the best UCM ships. Blue group is 4 Taipeis for close action.
Yeah, so these are kind of my low activation assault group that kind of pounce on enemy ships. I'm going to try and play them a bit more cautiously today because they do tend to be a bit one-shot wonder, where they kind of go in, kill an enemy ship and then get completely slaughtered by the rest of the fleet. So I'm going to try and be a bit more cautious with them.
Last turn, first turn activation maybe, to get 2 attacks out of them?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
White group is, that is 2 new Kairos, although the model is the... What's the model of the one on the left here? That's not a new Cairo, is it? That's a... Saratoga, yeah, that's it. That's the one I've got the mould for. Yeah.
Yes.
And a Lima to support. I think this is pretty self-explanatory what this group's meant to do. Oh yeah, there's the... Thank you, JJ. Yeah, there's the mould of it. Yeah. And this group, I can speak for JJ here and say that this group is quite simply meant to use the Lima to light up targets and then hit them hard with 2 burn-throughs.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of the tip of the sword, as it were.
Yeah. And lastly, the big boy over here, and unpainted, JJ, unpainted.
Oh, no, I got it yesterday.
Do you want to explain how you're going to play the New York then? Because we've been through this a few times.
So basically, New York's commonly considered to be one of the better battleship choices for the UCM fleet, but I have struggled to use it to its full potential so far. I think I've played it about 3 times, and Matt's played it when we did a game of Swap Fleet, and he performed quite well with it. I think keeping it nearer the back, being cautious with it, and using it in a supporting role definitely worked a lot better and got better value out of it. So I'm going to try and play it like that today. Yeah,
try and keep it alive. That big AV5 as well taking. Right, I'm going to just pause it here and then take you through my fleet over there. Okay, here we go with my fleet. Trying out a few different things here with Scourge. I would normally go with loads of close action. I like using Jin and Wyvern, they're my favourite ships. But I'm testing out something a little bit different here. So we have 3 Gargoyle with a Hydra to protect them. I'm only taking 1 Hydra just for fleet defence. I'm not going to try and use it aggressively. I'm just going to keep it at the back to send out fighters and counter JJ's huge launch of, what, 14?
Yeah.
That's one group. Then we have... I'd normally take a Basilisk, couldn't quite afford it this time, so I've got a Shenlong at a V4 to silent run, snipe as long as he can, stay alive, and then weapons free towards the end of the game to do some damage. Bit of an interesting group here. This group is 2 Harpies and 3 Skiller. Skiller are going to drop down into atmosphere and take advantage of any signal, any spikes I can put on JJ's ships. And then the Harpies I'm going to try and use as an active scan unit. We'll see how that goes. Here is a Chimera and 3 Gargoyles. Pretty straightforward what that group's for. And this is a big guns group. That is 2 Yokai and 1 Sphinx. So this group packs a lot of Ocular Beam punch, but only really if it goes weapons free. So I'm going to try and use spikes and my active scanning harpies to set up some nice attack runs. And then lastly, 4 Nickar. There's a bit of debate going on at the moment about how effective Nickars are, but 4 I'd say is about the minimum you need to take to be effective. 3 doesn't really do enough. So in Station Assault, they're going to be just trying to snipe out strike carriers or anything that JJ tries to hide in atmosphere. Right, we're going to get started. We're going to do turn 1, and then we are going to come back at the beginning of turn 2.
Okay, so end of turn 1. Not very exciting as you'd expect. Most of my ships on the UCM side have just come on silent running in high orbit. The New York battleship has been very conservative, come on a whopping 3 inches on silent running. Most of the other ships are all in high orbit and on silent running. The only exceptions are 3 new Cairo strike carriers that have gone max thrust to try and get over to the distant stations. They're in low orbit and on minus spikes. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, Scourge turn 1. Nickar are out here on the left flank. They've max thrusted, gaining a minus spike. I use these double-sided tokens. So that'd be major spike, minus spike. Everything else pretty much is silent running towards the first space station. The Chimera, got the Gargoyles there. Shenlong dropped to low orbits to get its attack run for later on in the game. Hydra's back here, no targets, so silent running. The Skiller are in low orbit for atmosphere next turn. Gargoyles here, heading for the middle station. And then sort of this right flanking group, got 2 Gargoyles heading for that station. And this is my group of Yokai and Sphinx, silent running up the right flank of the board to try and line up some weapons free later on in the game.
Okay, so end of turn 2, just do a quick summary of what activated and what did what. First activation was my yellow UCM group, which is 3 New Orleans. There's 1 over here. It's gone max rust, which has got a major spike, but it drops into atmosphere to hopefully protect it long enough to jump up next turn. 1 over here, which also max rust and drops into atmosphere for its own protection. Hopefully it will survive long enough to drop something, or it's probably too little too late. And you'll notice that the third one was here and is now dead, thanks to the Skiller activating after it. They came in and basically shot at the New Orleans, killing it in with 4 crits instantly, which wasn't very nice of Matt. Thanks for that. After that was my blue group, 4 Type A's. They wouldn't get in range to shoot this turn, so I continued silent running them. They just went forward to get within strike range for next turn. After that, it was Matt's Yokai and Sphinx. Over here, the 2 Yokai carried on going silent running straight forwards, and the Sphinx came off silent running on standard orders and turned in towards the fight. After that was the UCM Green group, which was a Seattle over here, who did standard orders so he could launch in the end phase. And 4 Santiago's over here, which just continued on standard orders to try and hide behind the debris field. Next activation after that was my white group, which is 2 Saratoga and New Cairo here, and it's the Lima active scanned the Sphinx over here to put us on minus work. It's probably the only useful thing that group did. After that was the Hydra and Gargoyles, which just did standard orders over here. So the Hydra's over there, and the Gargoyles are spread around, I think. Just getting ready to launch in the end phase. After that was my battleship, which I actually made a bit of a tactical error here, because I didn't realise that that station is actually exactly 24 inches diagonally from this corner, which means that battleship needs to go full speed of 6 every turn to get within range to get to it. Well, it has to go 18 to be within 6 of the critical location, so It could do it if it went full speed for 3 turns, so we'll see if he can get within 6. I've been going 3 previously, so he might not be in range, but not to worry. He stayed on sight range this turn. After the battleship was the Chimera and the blue gargoyles, which are over there.
Yeah.
Blue gargoyles which are spread around, so there's one there, there's one there in the middle, and there's one over there on the home station, all ready to launch. After that was my other Seattle group, which has 4 New Orleans with it. So there's one Seattle here, again standard order, so it could launch in the end phase, and then 4 New Orleans, 2 come to the home station, one's in the middle lining up a run for next turn, and one's gone to the station to my right. After that was probably the most important part, I think, for me, other than losing the New Orleans, was when Matt activated his 4 nuclear corvettes, brought them in and crippled the nearest Taipei, taking his scanners offline, which obviously, it being a close action frigate, has pretty much ruined its usefulness until I can get them back online. After the activations, we then did the end phase. There wasn't a lot of launching at the end of turn 2. Most of it was from Matt's side, so his 2 of his gargoyles have dropped a tank and a man here, 2 gargoyles have dropped a tank and a man here, two tanks, a unit of 3 men and a defence battery from his troop ship landed on here, pretty much securing his home base. All mine did was launch 1 tank there from 1 New Orleans and 1 tank here from 1 New Orleans. The other 2 red New Orleans weren't within range, and the 2 yellows were on major spikes in atmosphere to protect them, so they couldn't launch this turn. For me, fighter wise, I launched some bombers from this Seattle at the left gargoyle, and then from this Seattle at the right gargoyle, putting 3 bombers on each. Matt launched 5 fighters from his carrier over here onto his Shenlong to provide fire escort. And that was it. No other important activities then.
Okay, this is the summary for turn 3. It's my turn to do it, and also JJ doesn't want to do it because it's been a pretty terrible turn for UCM. If we go left to right, what's going on? I still have 1 gargoyle dropping there. Managed to destroy JJ's New Orleans that was in orbit, so he's got no way of dropping there. We've got a head-to-head going on here between my Sphinx, which kind of got away with 1 here. You can see it's on 9 health left. It was shot by the New Orleans, the New Cairo, and the Saratoga. Both lined it up and did 1 damage between them.
And fluffed it. Hate burn throughs.
So classic burn through misfire. And then the Sphinx didn't do much. It had already moved to there to try and shoot a strike carrier, but failed to destroy it. Then Yokai sort of swept around into the backfield here of the ECM and shot and heavily crippled the Saratoga in return, but it just managed to repair its engines and its orbital decay, so it's on 2 health, just surviving. A load of corvettes here of UCM, they swept in to destroy one of my gargoyles that had tried to get JJ's home space station there. The New York is steadily making its stately progress up the board. This turn it has actually contributed because it's put fighters out, put bombers out. It's 4 bombers here, 3 bombers here, 3 bombers here from a Seattle. The other bombers from this Seattle flew and are sitting on my Chimera over there. In this part of the board, my Nickars got away with 1 again. I lost 1 of them to the Seattle shooting at them, but they managed to activate first and destroy Taipei. You'll notice that the Taipeis have all disappeared. They have all been destroyed. They didn't do much damage. They took out 1 of my gargoyles that was around the center space station, but they were then swept mercilessly away by the Shenlong coming in on weapons free in the same layer with aggression to reroll hits, which was just lovely. The Skiller helped to finish off a few damaged things around here, a New Orleans and 1 Taipei that survived. In my backfield, yeah, you can see the frigate dead pile here has grown massively. Harpies are at the back, still active scanning. They help my yokai pick out a target. Hydra's at the back. It put out fighters to here to protect my Chimera in response to the bombers. And it also, at the same time, bombed JJ's New Orleans, which popped up to try and take start trying to contest my home space station. So my Chimera is heading this way on silent running. I played Silent Killer on it so it could shoot, and it put 1 damage on this New Orleans. But next turn I'm hoping to get into range to drop 6 troops down and win that space station just in time. So at the moment I have that space station, I have this one, 2 to 1. I've got this one. JJ has this one because it's his home one, but not very securely. Got 2 armoured regiments on it. And then this one JJ does have, but unless something dramatic happens, I will be taking that one just in time for turn 4. That's the state of play at the moment, so we've got a definite head-to-head going on here between a Seattle, a very damaged Saratoga, a New Cairo, facing off against a Sphinx and 2 yokai, so that's going to be interesting to see what that happens. Definitely going to be a lot of damage happening there. I've managed to line them all up in the same layer, ready for a weapons free with all those ocular beam ocular beam double damage rather. So it's going to be destructive. And I'll try to get in and start putting some damage on Admiral New York here at the back. Right, we will see you at the end of the decisive turn 4.
Okay, so at the end of turn 4, it's been a pretty decisive Scourge turn 4, with them scoring pretty much everything. I currently have left a Seattle, a New York, 1 Lima, 3 Santiago Corvettes, and 1 New Orleans, which is capable of dropping 1 a turn. Brilliant. Much of the rest of the Scourge fleet is still alive and well. It's been a very one-sided game, if I'm honest. Not a lot has really worked the way I hoped in the list. The Scourge dead pile is that, so 1 cruiser, and that was a light cruiser, 4 corvettes and 2 gargoyles. Very disappointing. Whereas my dead pile is so big I have to zoom out. Seattle, 2 New Cairo light cruisers, all but 1 of my New Orleans, my 4 Taipeis, and 1 of the corvettes. Pretty sizable. I managed to do a little bit of damage on these 2 ships. They're both crippled. That one's crippled with arm cracked, and that one's crippled with, what was it?
Had a fire and then I repaired it.
Had a fire, but it's been put out.
Yeah.
The Shenlong's completely untouched. The Chimera is damaged, but it's got nobody to attack him anymore. And Hydra has been launching defensive fighters the whole game pretty much, very effectively, is untouched, and much of the frigates around the board are pretty much untouched. My New York's taken a little bit of damage. We actually forgot to launch a torpedo.
Oh yeah.
Never even fired a torpedo. It just got into range.
It wouldn't take effect till next turn anyway.
Yeah. Best case, it would have. This is to end of turn 4, so it wouldn't have taken effect until turn 5 when it had actually struck it anyway. By which time New York probably would have been in trouble anyway. There's only 2 capital ships left. Damaged the space station when one of the ships blew up. Managed to kill my tanks that were in there, unfortunately, which meant that Matt's now been able to take the ground within the space station, which means he'll score that 4 clusters. At the end of turn 4, the only thing I'm scoring is the critical location, thanks to my New York parking next to the space station. Other than that, Matt's managed to score every single one of the space stations and the critical location next to his home space station. We decided to call it a day there because, if I'm honest, I've got hardly anything left, and all that's going to happen is Matt's going to get more kill points at this point. So, a decisive victory for Scourge on this occasion. Definitely going to go back to the drawing board of the UCM list. So that was our first video battle report. Apologies for the shaky camera. and being forgetful of ship names at times. I hope you enjoyed it. We are looking to refine kind of the structure and the format of them, because we want to start doing a lot more. So please send any feedback you've got. We'd appreciate it. As you can tell, it was a pretty brutal loss for my UCM. Scourge actually won 17-2 at the end of turn 4, without including kill points, which would have taken it even further over, to be honest, because all I really had left was my New York, the Seattle 3 Santiago Corvettes, 1 Lima, and maybe a New Orleans strike carrier. It was pretty brutal, to be honest. The fleet list I used, I'll try and attach somewhere to this video in the notes. It wasn't very effective, and I think I've come up with a kind of a better version. Just goes to show that an army isn't as good as some of its parts, as it were. All the components of the list were good, they just didn't really work well together. So I'm going to kind of rethink the list for the next battle. So, see you next time.